today we are diving into the inspiring journey of one incredible small business who is all about supporting introverts, empaths, and sensitives with boundaries, burnout, and being authentic. Joining us today is DeNicea. She's the proud owner of the Perfect Playground, and today she'll tell us how she got started, the lessons she's learned along the way, and what the Perfect Playground is about. And whether you're a fellow entrepreneur or just someone looking for inspiration, this conversation is for you. Let's get started. Hi, DeNicea. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
Jenna, I'm doing very well. Very,
Considering.
very well.
That?
Fantastical, even.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Actually.
Awesome. What inspired you to start the Perfect Playground? Like, what's the story behind its creation? Was there a defining moment that made you take the leap?
Hmm. So I would say that it was over time just kind of built up. You know how like you're doing something, you're like, I know there's something else, I feel it, and then you're not quite sure what it
There's more.
is, but you kind of keep going, right? And so like for me, it started out with my practice as I'd been practicing as a doctor of Eastern medicine, and then um where when you're coming in from that lens, you're looking at a lot of the physical stuff, right? Like a lot of the, oh, this headache, digestive issue, headache, I said headache, but like digestive issues and then like menstrual cycle issues, all this stuff. And over time though, while I was addressing and taking into consideration the mental emotional stuff, I like really wanted to go all in on it. So that's where it was like, no, there's all of these aspects of people that in their life, right? Like that they're experiencing, and we gotta take a look at it. We have to address it. Um, and so kind of like I can see the way that I was practicing and the way that I was seeing people evolving as well.
Mhm.
And then I got to this moment of what is it like what is going on, what's happening? And that's when I was like, I was in meditation one day, and then I just heard the word perfect, and I was like, what? And I remember even like sitting there in a way cringing a little bit, um because I'd grown up with this whole ain't nobody perfect but God, like that's the notion. And I was like, I don't know though, this is coming in right now, so I'm just gonna go with it.
Mhm.
And so I did. I started planting little seeds, started saying it more and more, getting more comfortable with it. And it really got me thinking about it for myself. And then it wasn't until I was meeting with someone that I was working with, did not know she had a linguist background until we were talking. And she's like, do you know the root meaning of perfect? Because I was telling her what happened. I was like, no. And she's like, the root meaning is whole and complete. And
Mm.
I was like, what? And she goes, so literally what you're doing, even with me and whatever, like in addressing all of that, you're speaking and you're seeing perfection. And
Mhm.
I'm like, what? And so like, so when I say perfect playground, it's because I'm actually seeing it's not the playground itself. Like I mean, that is it. That's one version. But I'm seeing people that way. Like I'm seeing people as a whole being,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And then the playground aspect came in because I'm like, serious healing ain't got to be so serious. And so that's where that came from. And just like, okay, if I'm doing tools and trainings and even if I'm speaking here, how can I make it a little bit more comfortable, more playful,
Mhm.
to kind of allow people's defenses to minimize,
Right.
right? And then that way we can open up some pathways for there to be some transformations in the way that people think and the way that they see themselves and all that jazz. So yeah, it is this virtual playground, like thinking about all the stuff of what's on a playground. It's actually infusing the elements, the natural elements. It's my homage to Eastern medicine. Like all of the elements are on a playground,
Mhm.
right? And then
Mhm.
relationships that occur there and
Mhm.
all of that jazz. So it's like you see that that's this place, but it's also us, like, because we're connected and
Mhm.
we have all of these elements and organ phases within us.
Mhm.
So it's this very rich and multidimensional
Right.
um thing
Right.
that is like, yeah, that's just kind of how I got there now. And so now I see it as what can I do to show people through the lenses of the different aspects of them, and then how are they connected
Right.
to what it is that we're seeing spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically.
Right. hmm
Yeah.
Yeah. You touched on a lot of amazing things. I kind of want to go back to before you got to um, the kind of like the birthing of the perfect playground. You said that you said a key piece there where you said you know that there's something you're being called to something else, but that's not clear. But there's one thing you kept doing, which was taking action. Like
Yeah.
it's not just, okay, I'm just gonna sit here and wait. I'm gonna keep on taking action
Yeah.
because I feel that, I think part of the clarity is that we keep on taking steps and we intentionally, kind of show the universe, God, whatever, that we're gonna step out when the calling comes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. I love that you just you kept on taking action. I want to ask, like, what were the action steps that you were taking? Was that just, you kept working on your business or
Yeah. So it was actually my working, um, so it's working on the business stuff, but then also it was myself.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, and I try actually to not say working on myself, and I actually encourage other people not to say working on yourself either. Just because of connotation. It's like people have this way of thinking about work and then they think like, oh, it's 9 to 5, like, or whatever hours it is they want to place on it. And I'm like, well, your personal development stuff kind of happens all the time. Like,
Mhm.
you
It
know, so
really
so
does.
relieve yourself of that pressure because
I love
because
that.
it's happening all the time, whether or not you're going to be conscious in whatever it is or you're going to be unconscious. It's
Mhm.
happening. Um, and so like for me, it was okay, if I had an idea about something, let me start taking some steps and actually like try to integrate it, right? And so when that whole thing about the perfect thing, right? I had, which I'm sure many other people do, have like a bunch of notebooks. Um, so I'm like writing, writing out, writing out all these different things. And I'm like, I kept doing trainings of like courses and workshops and like, how do you put this together and all that jazz. And I'm sitting here like, okay, I'm gonna make this course and it's gonna be about this. And at that time, I was really more into fertility health and menstrual health as my specialization. And the thing is I felt like I even was evolving out of that, and I just didn't know how to shift that. Like, how do I shift the messaging for like this audience is around, they know me for that, this email is around, email list, they know me for that. And so then it's like, but now I don't want to just talk about that anymore, so I want to talk about this. And then and it being somewhat controversial because what do a lot of people want to agree on is, well, nobody's perfect. Like, I'd much rather just, I'm imperfect and all of that. And I'm just like, how much more, coming in through the lens that I had since then learned is like, well, you're actually a whole being. So the more that you keep talking about that you're actually not, then those cracks and those holes, because you don't believe that you're whole, allows other things and other people to come in. And that becomes like an external source of power. And
Mhm.
so even as you're evolving, so you see what I'm saying? So it's just kind of like the action that I think I need to take right now is just to talk about it and
Mhm.
through my perspective. And so whether that was, okay, now I'm shifting what kind of podcasts am I going to speak on? And if I'm in summits, what am I going to do? I'm trying to figure out like, what's this course now? Like, I don't want it to just be about menstrual and fertility. And so what is it now? And so then so it became like, it was even confusing for myself because I'm like, I'm going more abstract and I'm going more conceptual. Yet you get all of this training and stuff telling you you need to make it tangible for people.
Mhm.
And it's like, but it's there. Like that to me it's I had such difficulty, and I still do now, because I'm like, no, this is what it is. Like, yeah, it's a concept, but
Mhm.
you see it in people's lives. Like, you see confidence issues, you see like the boundary stuff, you see the burnout, and so So now, like I can have a little bit more understanding of what they mean by that.
Mhm.
Like, okay, well, if they're lacking confidence, then what does that look like? Like, what are they doing then? And
Right.
so it's like, oh, okay, now I get it. Y'all just had to ask the right questions. And
Right.
so,
Right.
so it was like putting together literally like mini trainings, putting together courses, putting together like changing up my like social media posts or um just the way that I was talking about it. Like that was integration in the sense of like taking action.
Mm-hmm.
And then every time that I would do it, and this is why I love going on podcasts because like the questions are awesome. They get me, it pulls things out of me that I
Hmm.
didn't know, were there. And so it's
Right.
like, oh, let me talk about that thing. And then
Right.
and
Right.
so in some ways it's like we can I could have and I might have at some points been like, why did I go and do this? I spent all these hours creating this planner and like all these things. And then it's like you end up with, a catalog of stuff.
Hmm.
And and so we could look at it and be like, dang, that was a waste of time. But it really wasn't
Yeah.
because in some ways it's like we gotta go, it's through the action that there was clarity and then you just kind of you learned more about yourself. You learned more about what it is that you're really being guided towards. And it's like I'm a feeler outer, so I kind of do have to actually do some things in order for me to really feel, oh, not this way or okay, this way. Let's go
Mm-hmm.
that way, that kind of thing. Um and so yeah, and it just you got to. And I know that I can do this because I am an overthinker and overanalyzer. And
Yeah.
so sometimes like I'll try to plan out, all the steps
Hmm.
or whatever, and then be like, okay, well, I can't do anything just yet because I need to do blah 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 blah.
Right.
And or this isn't quite clear yet if I go in this and then this direction. Or, it's like you learn about all the options
Mhm.
and even then, it's like, that's not even all the options. That's just
Right.
what's in
That's
front of
just,
you. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so it's like, okay, you gotta just make a choice and kind of go with it.
Right.
And some of it's like internal. And then there's also just support systems and teams and too. So right now I have one of my biz buddies, and so she's super duper helpful because she's coming from this numerology background and she's like it's cool because then she's telling me that that frustration of back and forth or trying to plan but then you are timing and all of this and she's like it's actually kind of what's happening right now for you. And
Mm.
I'm like, oh. So it's cool when you have different tools like that that's giving you a different perspective because then it allowed me to have some grace with myself.
Right.
So it's like surrender to the path while taking faithful action,
Hmm.
while on divine timing.
Right. Right. Right.
And it's like all of those together in a pot.
Mm. Yeah,
Work
seriously,
together.
seriously. And that's perfection, right? Because that's kind of like how it is. Like
Yeah,
all of these
exactly.
things
Oh
are
my God.
happening all at the same time, right? And yet, and I think part of what we're at task to do is to keep on taking action, with all of these things and accepting all of these things as part of who we are, really, right?
Yeah.
Um, you mentioned, the three B's to me, in our previous conversation, and we alluded to this. We actually have had a couple guests just recently have been talking about boundaries and burnout, and one of the things that how you stand out is the be authentic part. How have you and your clients and in your work, how have you brought that online, like
So,
in a virtual setting?
yeah. Okay. So bringing it online in the virtual setting.
Mhm.
Um, I, the way that I could do that, and it was confusing to me if I could do it. But a mentor supported me and was like, hey, yeah, you're used to moving chi with a needle, but anything that moves the chi can be a needle. And I was like,
Good one.
Genius. Thank you, Laura
Hmm.
Eve. Like it's something, you know. And I have since then really learned too that that's a big strength of mine is being able to alchemize and being able to see potential and seeing pathways and options and all of that, and then being able to put it down into steps. So like I saw that that was something that I could do and it would happen naturally. I didn't know that I was doing it. So it was reflected to me. And then that made it a lot easier for me to understand, like, oh, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. I'm like, oh, this is actually a viable option, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's where, like, I love being in smaller groups. So it's like if smaller groups in or one to one, like if you ask me questions, right, or present to me the situation or circumstances where it seems like you're stuck or you can't see anything else, like I'm really great at that. Like I can come in objectively and I'm able to see things, ask the right questions that they even see it for themselves. It's not like I'm telling them what to do. It's like, yeah, I'm intuiting information, but at the same time, like they are coming to these connections and being able to draw them for themselves and then applying it in their lives, right? And so like to see that like I was actually doing that even when I was actually physically needling. Like to the point that some patients would be like, I don't even need to needle it today because
Mhm.
they got what they needed just out of the conversation, right? The transformations had happened, the pathways were open.
Mhm.
And so to kind of to like call on that more
Mhm.
into the virtual space and I am using what comes up for people even physically, right? Like that's how I'm getting information about the about how they're responding
Mhm.
to what's going on in their environment, whether that's their internal environment or their external environment. So then so even when we say like boundaries and burnout and being authentic, even then, I'm saying boundaries because a lot of people know boundaries and it's alliteration,
Mhm.
but really they're filters.
Mhm.
So in my space, I call them filters. And then like even with the burnout part, it's like, let's just see where it is that we need the heat because the heat allows movement. And it's just like there's a point that for everyone, like you get to. And I'm like, is it really burning out or is it more about that way of being? It has reached its peak. It's reached its time.
Wow. Mhm.
Right. And
Powerful.
so then that's letting you know you're at a point of evolution.
Mhm.
And so that means then that just like with our plants, right? Some of them are going to die or they're actually cut off. And then there's all this new that comes, right? Or they do prescribed burns
Mhm.
intentionally to encourage growth, right? So
Mhm.
like
Yeah, yeah.
so there's such a negative connotation when it comes to even burnout. And I'm like, actually, it's quite opening. And so like to
Why we
if you see
need it.
it in that perspective, and if people see that they have some flexibility for that new to come about. When
Mhm.
the being authentic part came up, it was because like I saw those instead of me calling them symptoms, I call them signals. And like with a signal, it's giving you information, right? And so when you can actually start to associate or reframe the relationship with the body and then seeing that what's coming up, how it's coming up, where it's coming up is painting a picture of these nuances about circumstances and situations that you're experiencing, right? And the thing is that I kept seeing this with people, and that's how I found out I was consulting more than anything
Mhm.
because it wasn't just like, oh, here's this pain, like this go away. That's sure that's how I started because that's sure that's how I was trained, right? But it was like in the regular conversations, I'm learning about all these little secret core desires that they had for themselves,
Mhm.
and I'm not talking like some of it. Yes, it can be big, like they don't want to be in that career anymore, and there's something else. It could be that big, but it could be as little as. Mm, I I feel like I'm going on this trip or I want to go on this trip, but I got to do I gotta make all these meals and stuff for my husband and for my kids. And then it turned, but I really don't want to, right? So even that is an expression of authenticity.
Mm,
And, but someone like I was able to see that and reflect that and then start to ask, why do you, why do you feel like you have to prep all of that? So then it opens up this conversation of like, well, I don't think he's going to do it. And I'm like, you don't think he's going to do it or do it the way that you would do it?
mhm,
You see? And so then it opens, so that kind of thinking and the way that we can explore ourselves is like, it's a vulnerability to it. Yes. And at the same time, those signals that we're showing was actually giving insight that it had something to do with the over caring and over nurturing. But what was under it was, I just want them to all to do what it is that I tell them to do and how I tell them to do it. Because, and you can go even further and be like, well, where did that come from? Well, because I don't want them to get hurt. I don't want them to whatever. So you even see there's this fear. So it's kind of like it's this multi-layer approach and that are all there, right? And it's like when people throw around authenticity, it's more complex than it seems and then it appears.
mhm,
And we can think our way or think that we're being authentic, yet there's something coming up in the body. And that's actually your signal that it's not.
mm,
And so then, and so it's like, well then what is it that I really and so like so you get into those conversations with people and then that's when to me I'm like if you can learn these little nuances with yourself then it's supportive it's sustainable because you're going to be out there and the day to day stresses are going to come. So I don't believe in stress management because stress is going to happen. It's all in how we navigate it all. So this is
mm,
why I even say it's navigating the boundaries, the burnout, and being authentic because they're all going to happen. Like those things are going to be presented. We just want to build up our terrain, build up our constitution to be able to navigate it and to navigate it in a way that is us and
mhm,
it's an expression of our being. So like if we're not expressing like our core desires and what's really there for us, then we are more than likely going to end up experiencing and feeling these things in our body in some way. So, that's like, so to answer that question, like that's my take on it. Like that's how I see it and how I just blend it and combine
mhm.
the way that we could use those signals coming from the body that gives us the insight on how we can do the boundaries, the burnout, and the being authentic, especially when the like all the other books and stuff like that are very like
Surface.
they're very generic, very protocol like, very like and then you can read it and be like, oh, that doesn't resonate, or like, well, maybe that does. But when you know that it's only your body, there's only one of your bodies, like right in this dimension, like
Right.
if you get to know that and how to use that, like that's how we can really like be
Hmm.
like and literally like put the being in human being, right?
Mm, yeah, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. So what's one thing that you're most proud of with I know the perfect playground has not been launched yet and waitlist is out the the show note the link will be in the show note, but what was the one thing that you're most proud of as a business owner, or even you could talk about the perfect playground and what you're most excited about as well.
um I would say that keep going with it.
Hmm.
The because I know like in some areas of because I'm multi-passionate, so like in some areas that you know some of you were like, oh, if only you would stick with it, and I'm like, can you acknowledge where I've stuck with things, like right, like and so and especially with something like this where not too many people right know about this root meaning and understand that this is the perspective that I'm coming in with it.
Yeah.
um and so like I'm questioning like, oh, will they understand this, you know? oh, will they get this? Or, oh, will this company like even want me to talk about that? And like all of those things where I feel like, am I not going to be able to fully express myself? And if I do feel that way, then I don't want to, I more than likely may not go with that direction, right? And in some ways, can it be a hindrance? Yeah. Especially, if you're like, dang, that could have been potentially this much. But I know that I would probably get there and then something come out because it's so natural to me and that it may not have been a great experience for them or something like that. So I always think about like the audience and then thinking about myself in the sense of, okay, if I'm talking about authenticity, do I feel like I can really be that and to do that and to really convey this message, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that's one of the biggest things I'm proud of is like,
Yeah.
as much as it is that there's like the crappy moments, the confusing moments,
Right. That's
all
part of
of
that, right?
that I just kind of
Sure.
like, okay, well, let's just keep going.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the playground, like
That's part of it.
what I see as part of the playground, why I anticipate the different tools and the different trainings in there, why they might seem like they're random, but they're really not because they represent these are the different things that people go through
Mhm.
on a day to day. And I just want to give you something that you can pull out
Mhm.
to be able to use to
Yeah.
once again navigate all of that stuff,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
so like that's like what I'm most proud of. And then at the same time, like why it is that I wanted to really to create that playground the way that I'm looking at it, right? Like,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
when people are like niche
Yeah.
it, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it is niched, actually, it's quite niched.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
for everyone, but it is quite niched. And
Mhm.
it's just that it honors that we experience so many different things in our lives, right? But the one consistent thing is going to be you.
Mhm.
And so to know you and to be able to honor and just respect that it's you, it's like you realize like you don't need the outside power source for you to be you because it comes
Yes.
from within. That's
Mhm.
true empowerment, right? Then it's like you realize like there are places where you don't feel like you have to fix yourself, right? And so it's like you don't have to fix yourself. It's just more of understanding your way of being
Mm.
and then designing and creating those environments that allow that to happen
Mhm. Yeah.
because that's what's natural to you.
Yeah.
So we just gotta see what that is,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And then you literally create that environment, whether it's through people, whether it's where you're physically at. Do you move some things around? Do you add some things? Like, do you take these supplements? Do you go with these herbs? Do you do these essences? All of those things are meant to support you to be who you are
Mm.
and to be your perfect,
Mhm.
authentic self,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? So that's
Mhm. Mhm.
that's how I see it. Like, and even
Yeah.
with the playground, it's evolving itself. So like,
Sure.
you know, when
Mhm.
that sucker opens up, it's going to be things that are there. But like, as people come in, the more you engage and the more you tell me, and I see what's going on, and it's like, oh, this would be useful. So then it's like, okay, let's add this in there,
Mhm.
and just kind
Yeah.
of like and go with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. Well, I would love to have you again when the playground is launched and it's kind of, thriving and all of that, so we can talk about what's going on and maybe invite, some of the people that are that would want to be a part of it. Because I feel like there's, like you said, it's highly niche because it's the level of awareness that you as a person need in order to go, oh, yes, it makes sense that it's called the perfect playground. It makes sense that it's all of these things, like that the level of awareness that you would need just to be there, right, is
Mhm.
is 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 already, like, it's already filtering, like you said, it's obviously not for everybody. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, I would love to have you again, and we can talk more about what's going on with the playground and all that good stuff.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that
Thank
coming
you
up.
so much for sharing your story, your insights, a lot, so much wisdom, and I can't wait to edit this and all that, and give you a lot of all the, you gave a ton of really good stuff. Um, and then, like I said, I'll drop the link for the playground's wait list. What are other ways that our audience can get in touch with you?
So I would say Threads right now.
Mhm.
And my handle is at it's the perfect playground.
Mhm.
And then Threads is linked to Instagram. There will be more coming on Instagram, but like it's the perfect playground on there too.
Cool.
So I would say those would be my top two places to come
Awesome.
and chill with me on the
All right.
playground.
All right. Thank you again, DeNicea, for being part of Muse Interviews. And to our listeners, definitely check out theperfectplayground.com. Like I said, the link is going to be in the show notes. If you want to explore more about navigating strong boundaries, navigating burnout, and that could be a good thing for you, and living your authentic life, definitely check that out. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, DeNicea.